Okay, I will call to order the 2,373rd meeting of the Darien Police Commission. And first order of business is acceptance of the June 19th and June 27th minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Correspondence, Chief.
Yep. I have a couple here that were late arrivals that aren't listed on the
Okay.
agenda, and I'll read them off. But first, we do have a thank you letter from the RTM Public Health and Safety Committee for Officer Derek Mulcahy and Officer James Martin, who gave the police department rescue tour boat, gave a tour of the boat. They were very appreciative of their efforts. Just today, I got a thank you note from a resident commending the service of Officer Allen on an incident that happened in a parking lot downtown, in a minor fender bender. New Canaan resident was very complimentary of Officer Allen and how he diffused a kind of a tense situation. And we got a letter yesterday. I just wanted to bring it to your attention. I'm going to talk a little bit more about it with Captain Anderson and bring it up again when he's here, of a resident reporting a dangerous curve near 398 West Avenue. We are certainly aware of that curve there.
Yes,
But,
we all are.
He noted there was an accident on June 12th and struck a pillar in the area of his house. That accident, just so you know, was not speed related. There were other factors involved there. But it is a hazardous curve. I'm going to take a look at the signage down there. I think it might be a little bit overgrown right now and maybe some in need of repair, but I'll confer with Don and see if we can do some more modern technology there to warn motorists of that dangerous curve. We'll follow up with that.
Good. Okay. Department activity.
I'm going to defer to Lieutenant Aaron Zullo on the activity report.
So this is a report for June 19th through July 12th. On June 21st, a 42-year-old resident of Petticoat Lane was arrested for domestic violence. On the 24th of June, a 41-year-old Stanford woman was arrested after a traffic stop, revealed that she had an outstanding bench warrant from Stanford. Also on the 24th, as a result of a traffic stop and motor vehicle violations, a 72-year-old Bridgeport man and a 46-year-old Norwalk man were arrested on narcotic-related charges. On the 25th, a 45-year-old Norwalk man was arrested for DWI following an accident that he was involved in on Old Kings Highway South. Also on the 25th, a 19-year-old Stanford man was arrested for DWI charges after he was involved in an accident on Christie Hill Road. On the 30th, at approximately 2:30 p.m., a fast-moving thunderstorm moved through town, causing significant damage. Over the following 8 hours, our agency received 72 calls for service, most of which were related to the storm. These calls included utility poles and wires down, trees down, unoccupied cars, ambulance calls, boat rescues, security checks, alarms, welfare checks, and a car fire. On July 1st, a 52-year-old Stratford man was arrested by warrant for burglary that he had committed on the Roman Ave. At an Roman Ave business on 6/15. The suspect was charged with burglary 3rd, larceny 6th, and illegal use of a credit card. Since June 19th, we've had seven stolen cars from town. In all of these cases, the keys were in the vehicles. Since 6/19, we've had 15 car burglaries of unlocked vehicles. On July 7th, the town held its annual fireworks display using the scheduled rain date. The event seemed very successful. On July 8th, Officer Bryce Brown was sworn in as a probationary police officer. And on July 10th, Officer Silva, K-9 Kenny, and Officer Thurston participated in Camp Current in Hartford. Camp Current is a summer program for Hartford children, and on July 10th, it was Law Enforcement Day. Hartford's Camp Current provides a safe, exciting, and educational environment in which Hartford's youth, ages 5 through 12, participate in active learning opportunities and fun activities focused on positive youth development and healthy lifestyles. Officer Silva has participated in this camp for the last several years. So during this time, from 6/18 to 7/12, there's been 149 traffic stops and 51 infractions. That's it.
Thank you.
Just of note too, during that storm, the boat, our marine unit, performed very, very well. We had a couple of rescues that they did of kayakers, and we got a couple of letters that we're following up on for possible commendation for the officers that were involved in that. I'll get back to you with more information on that. They really did a good job.
I was away, but I guess it was pretty wild.
It was a fast-moving storm that came through town, did quite a bit of damage.
Yeah,
And caught a lot of people underwater.
Yeah.
yeah, can imagine. Okay, under old business, is a state grant that we
Yeah,
have
I just-
received.
I just want to make you aware, I believe I brought this up during the budget process, but just to update you, we are getting a grant from the state of Connecticut in the amount of $451,000 to be a test agency for new computer software and hardware. It's regarding the Connecticut Information Sharing System. This is largely all as a result of the efforts of Sergeant T.J. Moore. Soon it's going to be mandated that all paperwork that the police department produces has to be electronically submitted to the court system and other related agencies, Department of Probation, Public Defender's Office, Prosecutor's Office. All paperwork will have to be electronically submitted in the not too distant future. So it's going to save a lot of time, copies. Sometimes we have to make 5 copies of all arrests and police reports that have to go down to court. So due to Sergeant Moore's good relationship with TriTech, our software vendor, we're going to be a test agency. The state is funding this for Darien Police Department to be the test agency in our area. And there are a number of testing agencies throughout the state, but we're going to be the test agency for this area. So I had to go to the Board of Finance last night and get them to approve accepting the money, because the state gives us the money and then we pay the software vendor. So it has to be a process.
And did they act?
They did.
I would hope they would.
Yeah, it still has to go before the RTM at some point and
Okay.
the Board of Selectmen, but it's a good program, and I
That's
compliment
great.
Sergeant Moore for getting us involved in it.
Terrific.
And it's the training and, obviously the system gets in place.
Right, there will be a training.
TriTech
aspect to it.
comes and,
There will be a combination of TriTech and Sergeant Moore training our personnel.
Okay, any other old business that anybody has? No? Okay. Then new business, there's a presentation that's going to be given by Federal Realty concerning the Roden Heights development. So,
These gentlemen
go
are
ahead.
from Ty and Bond. They're
Yeah.
going to talk, they want to address the commission on the traffic implications.
Yeah, please introduce yourselves.
Will do. Yeah, just a point of clarification, we're with Roden Heights Shopping Center LLC, which is the Palmer site. Federal Realty is the,
Yeah, well, that's what I couldn't,
Oh, okay.
so you're here on the Palmer side, not
Correct.
the other?
Oh, okay.
Correct.
Oh, well,
just a point of clarification on the agenda.
no, it's an important point, okay.
And I'm Craig Yanis from Ty and Bond. I also have John Richer here, also from Ty and Bond, to present some roadway improvements as part of the development. Your review has been requested by the Planning and Zoning Commission, and as part of the local traffic authority state approval process. We've been working with DPW on this site and on the improvements, and they're endorsing the design we have here. And also we've been working with Captain Anderson. I realize he can't be here today, but he's been vetting the process from a LTA standpoint. So just for a quick overview, north is up on this plan. This is the Palmer's Market over here. Basically, the development will include, the project will include the redevelopment of the western portion of the site. So kind of rehabbing the existing restaurant and retail uses that are there today, as well as adding residential to the upper stories. So essentially what we're doing is kind of reconstructing, reconfiguring that side of the site, taking down the existing buildings. There's Is it 2 separate buildings or 3 separate buildings?
Two separate buildings.
So this is one building down here, correct, along the bottom?
Yes.
And then there's one building on the top here.
And that would be the new building.
Those would be the new
Correct.
buildings, the
Yeah.
existing there's a building here and here,
Yeah,
in the L shape.
yeah.
And we do have an aerial, if anybody has questions about what's there today, we can show. Planning and zoning, the Planning and Zoning Commission required that we do a series of off-site improvements, roadway improvements as part of this development. I'm gonna run through the traffic signal and operations improvements. If you have any questions, stop me, and then I'm gonna turn it to John to talk about on-street parking, the sidewalks, and the crosswalks. So just going down the list here that we presented in our letter, the first would be the traffic signal optimization at West Avenue, which is up here. The Heights Road intersection, which is combined on the same controller with the Metro North driveway, railroad station driveway. So what we're doing there is essentially just optimizing the coordination between the signals to get some better operations. I do have more details on that if anybody has particular questions. Along with that optimization, we're proposing a widening of Heights Road approaching Hollow Tree Ridge to include a right turn and a left turn lane. Right now, it's only one lane. So that helps the capacity of the intersection as well. Also along Heights Road, we're looking to restripe the eastbound direction. And what this does is we move the shoulder line away from the curb, and left turning traffic can wait on the inside lane to get into the site driveways, and any cars that are going through can pass them on the right. So along Hollow Tree Ridge, one thing I want to point out is there was an existing driveway in this location here that we're taking out, to try to, facilitate access along Hollow Tree Ridge and keep everything off the more local street, which is Heights Road. So that's one good thing that we did. And then the final piece is we're gonna relocate the southern stop bar in Hollow Tree Ridge coming up Heights Road. And that's to allow better turning movements for buses and large vehicles, making a right turn onto Heights Road.
Pushing it back.
We're pushing it back, 25 feet or so. And that's to the other side of the driveway that's there. And so that way the buses can swing out and make that turn without crossing the yellow center line.
How many cars can you fit coming down Hollow Tree before they're backing up across West Ave?
So
I just want people blocking the box there.
this distance is 1 car length that we're moving it back. I don't know exactly how many car lengths we have. So 25 feet is approximately 1 car length. And that's kind of set, we didn't have to move it back this far, but because of that internal driveway, you need to go behind the driveway, you can't be in the middle, so that's kind of set that location. So I don't know the exact answer. I could tell you information about the queues, I'd have to look it up in the traffic study. What we are doing here is the existing conditions, essentially with the optimizations here, we're getting no worse, and I think it will be better. Our analysis shows that it will be better in the future with the coordination and the additional lane.
Well, internally, now, if you could point there where the current buildings are, where the cleaner is.
You want me to bring up the aerial instead, or is this, talk to this one?
Well,
So the existing building is basically in this location.
that's the post office.
That's the post office.
That's the post office. I'm not talking about the post office.
Okay.
I'm talking about the internal buildings where the pizza place used to be, and down towards, no, you say, yes, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yes, that's what I'm talking about.
And then the restaurant is back here.
The restaurant is back
So this
there.
is the restaurant, the pizza place I believe was in this area.
That's correct.
Yep.
And all those buildings. So the proposal is that the mid portion of the existing buildings is going away, is that right?
So these entire 2 buildings are both gonna be demolished.
They're not gonna become 4 buildings.
At ground level, it looks like 5
Well,
individual
yes.
buildings, but then on the 2nd and 3rd floor, they're joined by bridges. So they there's one building, like Craig was saying, that essentially these two are one building up above, and these three are an L-shaped, one building up
All right.
above.
So now, let's go over towards where the pizza
Mhm.
part is.
Yep.
All right. Right now, in order to, you can exit down onto Heights Road, but you can also exit around the top, around those buildings. Now, that's become a bit of a dangerous situation, because unfortunately, cars come in off Hollow Tree, and then on occasion, and I've seen the occasions, the cars go up and try to go around, although they're not supposed to be doing that. Now, is that road still, I mean, that driveway area towards the rear up there, is that going to remain?
So we're putting a new wall in that hill that comes down
Yeah.
back there, so we're widening that driveway quite a
Right,
bit.
so it is still going to be a driveway? Okay,
Yes,
to
it's
get
gonna be
around and then down and out.
Right,
There's no access to,
Where's the
to,
exit?
Hollow Tree Ridge Road anymore.
right. So
But
the
there's no
Hollow Tree-
access to Hollow Tree Road? Oh, I didn't understand it,
Yeah,
okay.
so,
This is now closed off
Oh,
here.
all right, so that becomes academic, but,
right,
But just for access for the site, there's the lower level to the Palmer's Market that stays. This is
Yeah,
all
I
part of the same
understand.
site. The one way that goes up in front of the market, the existing driveway between the bank and the existing building stays
Yeah.
approximately in the same location. And then this, I
So
believe,
that's
shifts a bit.
shifted from where it was, right now that kind
all
of
right.
goes through.
Now,
the
show me
post
where the
office is.
liquor store was, or is.
Right in this corner.
All right, so you're no longer going to be able to come in from Hollow Tree Road, Ridge Road into that parking area?
No, in order to get to that area, you'd have to go into Heights, into this driveway, and then you can make a left into the parking area and the parking area under the building, or through in the parking
Now,
area.
there's a parking
circling
area
around.
under the building?
Correct.
So this is grade level, so you drive in and it's gonna be screened from the outside, but it's below the residential units.
Oh.
So those are gonna be spaces for the residential units.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah.
And then this building has below grade parking for, so you're gonna drive down into a parking garage below that building.
That's, Heights Road is famously flooded in the past. How are you gonna handle underground parking with,
Yeah.
the propensity to flood in that area?
We're quite a bit higher back in this area of our site than the lowest spot is the intersection with Edgerton, just to the east of us. We're putting in quite a bit of stormwater management on the site as well that came up during the P&Z process, so that's being addressed, but we are quite a bit higher than that intersection.
Is there going to be level, ground level parking other than for Palmer's?
So that, yeah, it's located along this aisle here, angled parking, perpendicular parking, and then along the back here and along the back here.
Okay, so people are gonna be able to come in, but they're gonna be angled parking. And
Just in-
therefore angled parking out.
Just in this area here is the angled parking, the rest of it will be standard perpendicular surface parking.
So
How
for us,
many
this
parking
is
spots? Can you tell me that?
Say that
I'm
again?
sorry. How many parking spots for those 4 buildings? Because Palmer's parking is, can fill up completely.
Yeah, so
That's not.
essentially we do have a planning and zoning letter for the parking demand and supply, I just need to bring up the table, but I can explain it. So
I assume the planning zone.
But P and
will
Z
have-
already
Correct,
yeah.
has
With the traffic.
approved the amount
that
of
is
parking.
correct.
Okay.
That is
okay.
correct. On the
Okay.
site, there'll be 398 spaces with this proposal.
So is there any, I mean, I guess as legal traffic authority, we worry about traffic and on-street parking.
Yeah.
Is there any on-street parking we should be aware of? In this, in
Yes.
front, beside, nearby?
Yeah, so what we're proposing, I think the total is 10, on-street, 12, sorry. On-street parking spaces, we're widening Heights Road into our site, we're not taking that from the width of Heights Road. Basically along along Heights Road. We're eliminating, there's 90-degree pull-in spaces in front of the post office right now. We're eliminating those to improve the safety, so no one's gonna be backing out onto Heights Road like they are right now.
All right, so how, I want to go to the post office, okay? How am I gonna park? I mean, I'm not angling in anymore. Is that right? Can I park
You're
in
talking
front of
about
the post
If you're
office?
going to where the post office is now.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it may
So-
not be there, I understand.
Right, we're not involved in
I
there.
understand.
But you could either park in one of these parallel spaces on Heights, you could pull into these center spaces. There's these spots over here, or this area would be the next closest spot to park.
How many parallel, again, since we're the legal, or the local traffic authority, how many spots, parallel spots are those? Just
So
estimate.
12 spaces along here. We have 12 parking spaces, and they're gonna be signed with a 1 hour maximum, because what we don't want to happen is the train station commuters start just leaving their cars there. And then we also are proposing a loading spot for the restaurant and retail space that's going in at this corner along Heights Road, which is another, one of the items that the Planning and Zoning Commission requested your review of.
And that's a parallel loading
Parallel
zone as
loading
opposed to
space.
perpendicular?
Yes.
So let me, so we lost a curb cut over on Hollow Tree. We have one in and out between the two kind of structures.
This
And
one.
then what is currently an in only into the Palmers is gonna remain a one-way.
Right, so we didn't take any away on Heights Road,
Right.
essentially. This
Right.
one, there's one over here now that's shifted, that's only one way in right now. That's gonna be a two-direction
So
driveway.
it's a two-direction and then,
Two-direction and
Two-direction,
existing
and then-
from there over.
Right, so only one of them is one way, the one right
yeah,
in
one
front
that
of,
exists.
right in front
We
of
still
Palmer's
have the
Market.
two-way, we now have a better designed two-way because we've gotten rid of the curb cut
Right.
on the other side.
All right, so you're gonna have parallel, go back to the post office area, okay? You're gonna have parallel parking there instead of whatever you call it,
Yeah. The
pushing
head-in,
parking.
the head-in parking.
Which is going to mean that you're still going to have the issues of people trying to parallel park. And
You mean doing it back into the
yeah,
space?
back into the spaces, which is not frankly very popular by many drivers, and I won't characterize who they might be, but and to get out, you're gonna have the same situation, so you're gonna have to pull out. I just wonder whether it's going to be as park friendly as it is now, and I recognize the problem that you gotta back out. But you're gonna have to pull out anyway. And it just seems to me that for a lot of drivers, and I happen to have one in my family, who really don't like parallel parking. And I just wonder about whether this is really a better way than not. I mean, I don't know.
That's not the only parking there, you can go
Yeah.
in.
Right. There's
Well,
a
if
couple
you
things I
wanted to
wanna-
go to that area, that's really the only place you can park, isn't it? Or can you pull in and around in the back?
You pull
So
back.
you can pull it around in the back, and all these buildings
Okay.
have both a front and a back entrance.
Oh, okay,
if
okay,
you're
so
parking-
that
I
should
have
work.
explained
Okay.
that, so if
I
you're
got
parking internal to the site, there is gonna be a door from this side as well
All right,
as a door from the Heights Road
okay,
side.
that's fine. All right, that's helpful, Okay,
In terms of the convenience is certainly gonna be less to access a business in terms of, before I could perpendicular park and walk straight in.
yeah,
From a safety and operations standpoint, this setup is by far better
okay.
than what the perpendicular spaces offer because of having to back out and having people walk around behind a vehicle that's directly on the side of the
No,
roadway
understood.
as opposed to a parallel parking space. So, you know, we really think this is the way to go along the remainder of the segment, and this is something that the Planning and Zoning Commission held the same between federal site as well as this site.
Okay,
And as you mentioned, it's 12 of the 398. So there's, although there may not be convenient spaces other than the ones that we're mentioning in this corner, there are spaces on the site for people to park. They just have to, may walk a little bit further at the sacrifice, you know, for safety, convenience for safety.
okay. What are the plans, and I know they can change, but what are the usage plans for the buildings?
Sure, so, because that's more the architect's realm, but, so at the ground floor, there's 3 restaurants going in.
Oh, really?
One is gonna be this corner, and then this is a public plaza in the middle, and there's one restaurant going here, and one restaurant going here. And then the rest of the spaces at ground level are all retail. Then when you go up to the 2nd and 3rd floor, it's all apartment.
It's all
spaces.
apartments, so it's 3 stories.
3 stories, correct.
Okay.
Um,
And P and Z is approved, I presume, a
Yes.
3-story situation.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you want to see any of the renderings, I brought some of what they
Yeah,
submitted
can I
to
see
P
that?
and Z. Sure. So that kind of shows you the bridges that you
I
drive
see.
under to access and how it's
Okay.
2 stories up above.
Let's see that. Kind of great. Okay.
If you want to- or-
Yeah, that's fine.
So what approvals are you looking for? Are you looking for approvals, or are you
So-
just giving us the
So there,
overview now?
yeah, it's twofold. So the first thing is for the traffic signal improvements, as the local traffic authority, we need your signature on the applications, which I've included in your packet, or in the packet that Captain Anderson at least received. And so that allows us to go to the state to get the signal revisions done, and get the permit for the signal revisions at those intersections.
Has Captain Anderson approved these?
He's waiting on your action, so.
I realize that, but we often
He's looked at it.
rely on Captain Anderson's expertise, and my question is, has
Yes.
Captain Anderson, I haven't read this, but has Captain Anderson signed off essentially?
He told me before he left that we would not be making any decisions or sign-offs on this today.
Okay, all right, so he can,
But he's been involved in the entire process.
I'm
Yeah,
sure he
yes,
has.
yeah.
Okay,
And he did have to give us local traffic authority concurrence on the development for the state process, which is very similar to, that's approving the development, and this is now taking it to the roadway, the traffic signals. So that's that portion. And then the Planning and Zoning Commission specifically has asked in their approval for you to review some of the stuff we talked about today. We still have one more item to talk about, but, you know, notwithstanding, was the on-street parking layout and signage, the on-street loading space and the signage that goes with that, which you know, basically says that commercial vehicles only for 30-minute maximum in that loading space. And then the widening of Heights Road and the restriping of Heights Road, which I mentioned.
all right.
And then there's one more thing that John's gonna talk about with the crosswalks.
All right, I'm gonna ask you one more question before John talks, and that is, you're going to have on the 3rd floor, or 2nd and 3rd floor, you're gonna have residential, okay? And you have under the building parking for residential. How do they plan to enforce that so that there is parking for the commercial portions of this? Because, you know, I happen to live there, and I don't really like parking underground. And, yeah, all right, I just park my car. Have they taken all that, things like that into consideration to allow enough parking for the commercial end of it.
Do you want?
Certainly, yeah, I can't speak to how they police it specifically, but I mean,
Well,
the business owners are gonna be concerned, obviously the owner of the development's gonna be concerned, so they'll work out an agreement. I do understand that underneath the building's gonna be for
People-
residents.
people
Yeah,
don't
so-
like parking underneath. And there are a lot of people who are going to, I would expect, are going to just pay rent. It's easier, I'll just put my car somewhere.
But
And they're gonna have to so in order to do that, they're gonna have to really police it.
I think their plan is to have access control for the two garages. I mean, it's only going to be, so if you're not a resident, you're not going to be allowed to
No,
park.
that's not my point. My
Yeah.
point is the residents, I would expect that many residents would prefer exterior parking. And given the joint uses here of those buildings, what's to prevent Johnny Jones, who happens to live in one of the top in one of those buildings, from parking his car there? Yeah, at least during the day, which would be when the commercial buildings are being used. I mean,
Is that our purview?
it's not up, no, I'm just asking the questions as a practical matter, because I use this park, I use this shopping center as my basic shopping center.
I'll say that some of it is gonna come down to policing by the management, because the P&Z
Okay.
raised a concern about people going to the train station, parking there and
Yeah,
leaving their cars
and
too.
I
And that's-
recognize this is
you know, it's a matter
interior
of-
parking and not our purview, but,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah,
it causes me some concern.
you would
Okay.
get a better rate, because they usually charge more for covered parking, so.
Yeah, I realize during the winter, but not now. Okay, sorry.
So then the last item that P&Z asked for your review and approval of is the crosswalks and the material. What they suggested or recommended was a stamped asphalt product. We have, so there's one crosswalk right now at the Hollow Tree intersection, which we're going to replace. We're also milling and repaving all of Heights Road along our development.
Mm.
We're gonna add a mid-block crossing, near the existing driveway near the bank, that'll roughly align with the stairs to the train station, so that, you can, to facilitate access to the train station. And then we also have two crosswalks across the driveways. So, they recommended a stamped asphalt product, which is more visible, and it also has a slight traffic calming, effect. We're concur with their recommendation, but they're looking for your review and approval of that as well.
Okay.
I have examples of what that looks like if anyone wanted to see.
Well,
But
once,
there's no action.
I guess once, at our next meeting, when hopefully Captain Anderson will be here,
Well,
that we can go through this,
Just wanna make
ask
sure.
him questions and
right.
hopefully approve what's going on.
He's been present at all the meetings. I believe he's on board with all of this, but I asked him before he left, I said, are we voting or signing off on anything? And he told me no, that would be at a later time.
Good, okay. No, that makes me comfortable, as long as I've had, and the commission has, as traffic authority, is who we are, have the opportunity to talk to Captain Anderson and make sure that he's in line with everything.
He's all right.
Yeah, just one clarifying question on
Sure.
that then. Would it require another meeting in order to formally vote for
Yeah.
Captain Anderson to sign the document? Or can you do it, discussing with him, following him coming back from vacation? Just to
When
clarify.
are you looking for?
Well,
To sign off.
I mean, the issue is this really just kicks us into the next part of the process, which is clearing the signal design with the state, which could take some time, and they're really looking to go forward with the development, so. I realize the next meeting is on August 19th, that's another month away. We'd appreciate if we could move forward with Captain Anderson's approval. You know, discussing with the group and making sure everybody's on board. If that's not within the rules and regulations of the commission, that's fine.
Commission
I thought
approval.
the next meeting was on August 7th.
Oh, is that correct?
Exactly.
So August
Does it
7th is,
say
we
on,
put, you do the first and third Wednesdays of the month. And
We meet every
first
2 weeks.
Wednesday is
Was it on
August
the-
7th.
I don't know where, maybe I was looking on the agenda, I'm not sure.
Actually, the
but-
next meeting is July, technically is July 31st.
That would be-
Today's
That'll be the
17th?
fourth.
That would be the
Makes
third meeting in the month, we usually don't do that.
Yeah, we don't. You're right.
Sorry, I must have been thinking about something else. Yeah, so I
Yeah,
mean,
we're looking at August 7th, where we could,
Okay.
we can question Captain Anderson and get
Is that
this.
better? 2 weeks? I mean, obviously 2
Yeah.
weeks is
Is that
better
all
than
right?
4 weeks, but does that
Certainly,
still
yeah.
get you what you need?
I just wanted to clarify so we can tell our client what
Sure,
the schedule is, so
okay.
that's fine
Yes.
with us.
Okay.
We will try to get to it in 2 weeks.
Okay,
Thank you
great.
very much.
Ready?
I mean, we will get to it.
3 weeks,
Is it 3 weeks? Oh, it's 3?
isn't it?
Oh, because we're not.
17 to 24 to 31 to 7. That's all right.
You missed the meeting by one day.
Are you-
Well, we can communicate with them when our next meeting is, when we
I mean,
sit down with
I
our calendar.
certainly don't mind having I know it's an important project for the
No,
town.
that's what I'm trying to.
I have no problems. When is Don back?
He will be back on Thursday, a week from today.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
I-
Well, we could, I certainly don't mind having
We had to have a special
Yeah.
meeting.
a special meeting on the
If you can.
31st or something or other.
You could do something
If we
early in the
can-
morning.
I can do the 29th or the 30th.
Yeah, whatever that week, fine.
Yeah,
You know, I don't want to hold these.
no, I don't wanna hold them up either, that's what I'm
If it's a
doing. We
pressing
don't
issue,
care,
we can-
we'll
they can
we'll
call
try
a
to meet
special
in 2
meeting.
weeks.
Okay, yeah, I don't believe that that's the case, I just wanted to make sure I knew the process from here, that's all.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
We
Okay,
will figure out how to speed it up.
do our best. Okay, next is Andrews Drive traffic.
Maybe that's me.
That's you.
How are you?
We're good.
Good.
So my name's Mark Raskoff. I grew up in town and moved back here to figure out the kids. I'm basically here to learn about your traffic calming process, but I need to give you a little background first. Just so you know something about me, this is a little weird, but I'll tell you anyway. I am pretty happy-go-lucky. When I'm on the train platform before I go to work, I'm usually saying hello to my buddies and whistling and high-fiving. I'm not one of these guys who wears his game face and doesn't get out of the way for women on the platform. There's plenty of guys like that, and I'm not like that. My real interest is in quality of life, basically getting around town safely without feeling like you're imposing on drivers for being on the road. I don't know if you guys have ever walked and felt that way. I run or bike every morning, mostly on Andrews Drive, Brushy Hill, Delafield, that kind of thing. I ride my bike to the train station twice a day, 4 days a week. I go down Andrews, Old Kings, Corbin Post Road. It's actually the same area where that 14-year-old broke a bone the other day. And then coming back, I go on Center Street, and I do a lot of yard work on Andrews, so blowing leaves or fertilizer or whatnot. Now here's the interesting part. Back in '07, when Stanford was spending something like $24 million on traffic calming, I asked the head of, I think it's Walkable Communities, I can't remember the gentleman's name, to visit Andrews, along with Police Chief Lovello, Captain Anderson, Officer Isaac, and others. And we stood there on the corner of Andrews and Brushy, and we observed the high speeds firsthand. We were really there to learn, right? And after a couple of years of police commission meetings, speaking with Don and others, and documenting the requests and rationale for traffic calming devices or whatever, we ended up with a bollard and a double yellow line on Andrews, right? We tried fog lines also, and those were meant to sort of visually narrow the road. I'm not sure if they worked or not. I guess the budget doesn't allow them for any longer, and they've faded away. But the punchline is that the bollards really work. The street's posted 20, people tend to drive 30-ish. You physically can't text and drive and pass the bollard, you'll hit it. So what I've noticed is delivery trucks, UPS, et cetera, they all slow down. I felt like it was a significant improvement for dog walkers, joggers, bikers. The bollard dramatically reduced the feeling that your life was in danger. I don't know how many times you guys have been walking, I felt like you were in danger because of the excessive speeds on small roads. I have to add also that there's kind of a blind intersection with Andrews and Brushy, and there's a blind hill. I don't know if you guys know that road pretty well, I'm sure you all do. So there's a consistent issue with some bad actors with the bollard. This is kind of like the dirty underbelly of my neighbors, both adults and kids, taking the bollard, moving the bollard, damaging it intentionally. You know, I've physically pulled the bollard out of the woods 150 times in the past 10 years, personally. You know, spring, summer, fall, winter, usually I move it out of the way because the snowplow needs to go. I'm not a psychologist, but it feels to me like, you know, right here, right now, combination of work stress, you know, I mean, you guys were in finance, or you're still in finance. I mean, margin pressure consolidation makes people crazy. It's led to people having pretty negative reaction to any time they're told to slow down on anything. That's clearly not the norm. I think, in fact, bollards are now increasingly used across town, following use of the bollard on Andrews as a test case. Don could easily talk about that. The Tokenique Association, they just started using them with religion in an effort to reverse, I think I would describe the severe degradation of the quality of life for residents out in that area, where I for a walk or a jog caused by speeders and distracted drivers. So the bollards are effective, like they work, right? They slow people down. And because they work, they've been placed on various other roads in town, Raymond Street, etc. So why am I here today? I guess the bollard was recently vandalized a couple of months ago. It was stolen. And I asked Don, you know, if we could have it back, and I heard that the decision was made here at the police department to eliminate the bollard from Andrews. So obviously I prefer to have the bollard returned, and I know that they cost about $100. Hopefully that's what you guys pay for them too. Relative to the cost of the bollard, the cost of a pedestrian or bicycle accident in terms of injury or whatever, so not even in the same universe, obviously. So here's the question, and again, I'm here to learn. First, what was the result of the most recent traffic counts on Andrews? I think they were done after the removal of the bollard. Is that something you can just pull up? Does it take a while? I'd be very interested to know what the traffic count showed in terms of change in driving habits when you have the bollard removed. And I will also tell you, some people, I like the way it's been described, you know, I don't want to be mean, but some folks drive 60 or 70 or 80 down Andrews. You know, every once in a while, I'll be up in my house and I'll hear somebody with a giant V8 flooring their car, and they're literally like taxiing for takeoff. Sometimes it's two cars, and it drives me crazy because I'm, generally speaking, a rule follower, right? I mean, I was brought up to be a people pleaser. That's sure as hell ain't how you please people. So that's question number two. Question number two is, what's the current protocol for adding a bollard in town? And equally importantly, this is really where it's going to hit home for me, what's the protocol for removing a bollard that's been in use on the street? That's where I wanted to stop and learn, hopefully, from y'all.
Well, Chief, maybe you could just remind me as to what the situation was. I remember the issues at Andrews Drive, but we must have approved a bollard.
We
Right.
put portable bollards that we
A
put up.
portable bollard. So what are you looking for? You're looking for a permanent bollard?
No,
And
it's a-
what's,
If I could ju-
I'm sorry,
can I jump in?
I don't quite understand the issue.
Let me jump in.
Sure,
Right,
that
so
would be very
Bollard's
helpful.
gone, punch on, bollard's gone, it's not coming
It's
back.
back.
No, nobody's saying it's
No.
not coming back.
Nobody said that.
Well, I've made multiple requests for the bollard. It's
If
not
you let me
back.
finish, let me jump in here. I asked Officer Isaac to do a study with our portable speed machines that are posted up. We put them up on telephone poles
Right.
back in April. We did it for about 2 weeks. I was trying to get traffic counts, I was trying to get speeds. So this is older technology that we have. The newer technology we just put in for it, and it's not here, it should be delivered at any point. Our new JMAR speed recognition and documentation device, Andrews Drive would be a perfect place for it. Okay, so we're trying to get a grip on, you know, the times when there's the most traffic, the speeds, and when it would be most effective to put an officer there to run some radar instead of just randomly putting somebody down there. The speeds that, I'll be honest with you, I do have some speed data on our older technology. I'm not seeing, you know, I'm not seeing real high speeds. We have a lot of cars in the 30 to 35, 31 to 35 range, 36 to 40, there's a few. I don't have many over 41, there's nothing 41 to 45 in that 2-week period, both northbound and southbound. The days during the week, it's much busier, obviously, than on weekends as far as traffic volume. Monday seems to be a very busy day on Andrews. But I would like to get real accurate, up-to-date information from the new JMAR machine that we're getting before we put the traffic bollard out there. Because once we put it out there, it's going to probably slow people down.
Yay, that's the point.
I have no problem putting another bollard out. We'll get one down there. And you know, I
But
believe
yeah,
years ago, the commission probably approved it at some
I
point.
think we did.
And
Yeah.
That's
we'll
before
put
my
it back.
time.
As soon as we get the accurate speed count so that we can know what's going on there, I'll make Andrews Drive our first test case with our new technology.
So that does speed plus counts.
It does speeds plus it does counts. Yeah.
And what is the process of getting them involved? Can we just do it, or do we have to do any more admin stuff?
We have them throughout town. Some streets we rotate them around on.
Right.
If we need more, we'll get more.
Yeah.
We have money in the
I think
budget
we
for
do.
it. It's,
Can I ask you what you pay for them?
I'd have to check on that. I don't know what they are.
Because I looked into it, and I can get them for, I think the upper part for $100, on the basis for $50.
It's
This is not a
It's not- it's
situation,
not.
please, it's not a budget situation.
Yeah, we'll get
If
them.
bollards are appropriate any place, I, they'll be there. And this is, what the chief is saying, as I understand it, he wants to have an accurate count.
Yeah.
But there seems to be no reason why a bollard, if a bollard has really helped on Andrews Drive, as you say, that there's no reason why it doesn't go back. And the reason that it's not there now, I gather, is that somebody stole it, or somebody did something wrong, and you know, maybe there ought to be a little notice put out within Andrews Drive to have your possible teenager who loves bollards
We found
told
people-
not to do
We
it.
found pieces of it in the woods, I believe.
Sure.
The truck might have hit it, or.
Yeah, that could
I think if it lasted 2007 to even close to now, that
That's
was
pretty
a
good.
pretty good return
Okay.
for whatever we spent, although I acknowledge that Mark had to himself dig it out of the woods, but I'm
Yeah.
not sure we can, even if we put it up,
I'm
I'm not
fine
sure
doing
we
that.
can stop
No.
that
Yeah,
from
I mean,
happening,
yeah,
but
we can't
there's
stop
no,
that.
we didn't
No.
take it away, it disappeared, so it will
Yeah.
come back, it's just a
Sure.
matter of figuring out,
Perfect.
it'll be fine.
Andrews is a public road as opposed to state Tokenie, which is a private road.
Correct.
That's
Correct.
right.
Right.
So if the town
Yeah.
develops
Yeah.
Thank you.
But hopefully we get that in soon.
Yeah.
I'm
I'll
not
find
sure
out
if
the
times
specs
of
on it.
year, if August is dead, or that's when the high school and college kids are racing down in, I don't know when, the
It's
right
usually-
time, but.
Friday, Saturday night is usually when the kids grab their parents' V8s and they are
Same
literally
everywhere.
taking off. That would be my
Same.
vote for
Okay.
Well, we'll,
policing.
both.
We'll-
We'll get some good information,
we'll
and
take
there's
care
no
of it.
reason you can't have your bollard back.
Absolutely.
Cool.
And I'm glad it's working.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah,
it's-
that's
Nice to
good.
have feedback that it's actually does something.
We have
That's
no
good.
problem putting it back there.
No,
We're
Okay.
trying to get an
No
accurate count
problem
and
with
measure.
that.
Okay.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Mark.
Cheers.
All right, next we have the appointment of a school resource officer for Middlesex Middle School, and this is one of the best things that we've been able to get for some time. So congratulations, Chief,
Good, thanks.
and everybody else who's
Yeah,
been in favor of this.
Officer Stuart Schwanger has been named as the school resource officer. He will start at the end of August when school starts, and we're currently trying to work around his vacation schedule and some classes that he can go to through NASRO, National Association of School Resource Officers, to get him up to speed on where he needs to be.
And he's familiar with the school.
He was the school liaison there, so he's very well known there. During the interview, the school principal was in on the interview process. She's very happy with her choice too.
That's great. Okay, now we have the Thriving Youth Task Force.
Just wanted to let you know that Detective Palmieri has been named a co-chair on the Thriving Youth Task Force through the Darien Community Fund. You know, they come up with strategies and programs that promote positive youth development, and they approached me asking if James could be a co-chair, and I said, I think it's a good choice, but that's up to James. So he agreed to do it,
Right.
and he's attending the regular meetings, and he's well suited for that position.
Very good. Entry-level testing update.
All the applications are in. Our panel is going to start interviews on the 26th and do interviews on the 26th and the 29th. We're interviewing 26 candidates with passing scores, and then we will turn them over to the police commission on August 6th.
All good?
August 6th, we all here?
I believe
Yeah.
Jan lined that date up with you
I
guys.
think so, too. Okay, I'll write that down. Okay, and then we have a retirement letter. This is unusual.
I know I verbally told you guys of my retirement September 1st, but I didn't write a
You
formal
didn't
letter.
officially write a letter,
So
okay.
I presented you in your packet there with a formal letter, just for the record.
Okay. So do we have to, I guess we don't have to approve this
Accept.
retirement letter. If we do, we're certainly
Reluctantly
doing
accept
it with great reluctance, and great thanks to Ray for his great work here.
Thank you, appreciate that.
How many years?
35 and a half.
35 and a half, you got me beat. Okay. Okay, and then let's, gonna move into executive session to discuss personnel matter.
Correct. We'll have nothing to vote on, so.
You won't reassemble after the meeting?
No.
No.